The mention of these two words, comfort women, conjures up horrible pictures of slave girls. And for those who suffered these atrocities, I suppose all the apologies in the world could never erase this nightmare. But in the world of diplomacy, there must come a time for closure. How long are the Germans going to apologize for World War I and II, or do they apologize? My research leads me to conclude that the leaders of Japan have on several occasions apologized and expressed their regrets. I've seen official apology statements, beginning with the 1994 statement of Prime Minister Murayama. And every succeeding Prime Minister, including the one today, have apologized and expressed their regrets. The Parliament or the Diet of Japan has on 2 occasions expressed regret and apology. Finally, monetary redress has been provided by the people of Japan on further demonstration of their remorse. A similar situation occurred a few years ago. Another measure was introduced in the Congress of the United States, demanding that American prisoners of war be paid money. Well, on the surface, you might say, that's reasonable. They should be paid for the atrocity and the imprisonment. But we did have a conference in San Francisco where the peace treaty was signed in the 50s. And at that time, the victorious parties insisted that Japan do this, and this, and this, and one of them was to pay redress and compensation to all prisoners of war. And they were paid that amount. Granted, the dollar amount at that moment was less than what the Japanese Americans received for their internment. But in terms of the value, that $10,000 in the 50 conference was worth more today than the $20,000 that the Nikkei who served and who lived in concentration camps. But here was this attempt to do so. But I'm happy to say that the State Department thought it was out of order, and the Congress did not go any further. When we speak of apologies, it should be noted that there are many demands upon us, Americans, to apologize. I was chairman of the Native American Committee, the Committee on Indian Affairs, and many of their tribal leaders have said, when is the United States going to apologize to us for the treatment we received over the years? This used to be our land. Well, we have never apologized, and I don't know if we will. Those who are descendants of the slaves before and after the revolution have also suggested they should receive some apology from the United States. A few years ago, the Congress of the United States adopted a resolution to apologize to the Native Hawaiians for the takeover in 1898. Well, and in 1988, as you know, some of you are aware because you had to go through this, the government of the United States apologized for the internment of 120,000 Japanese and Japanese Americans in these camps from February 1942. Yes, the president signed the bill and apologized. But there have been no more demands for more apologies and more money. There must come a time of closure. How many prime ministers have to apologize? And so this little incident can become something big if we don't watch ourselves. Apologies are fine. Civilized society should always recognize a wrong that they have committed, and if necessary, apologize for it. But what's more important than an apology is the action that follows. There are many activities throughout the United States, and I see the Consul General here, and as he's well aware, the Foreign Ministry of the Japanese government initiated a program several years ago inviting Nikkei leaders, Japanese Americans, to visit Japan and spend some time there to learn about the land where their parents and grandparents were born. It's continuing, and I think it's commendable, and I gather that there are some in here who have taken advantage of this invitation and gone there. Yes, there are many irritants. Oftentimes, problems occur when there's a trade imbalance. When the balance is there and we're doing well, everyone's happy, contented, no one is harsh. But when there's unemployment and when there are people who are not living the life that they wanted, the attitude becomes a little harsh and grim. For example, there's a little problem. Maybe you've heard of it because it's something rather close to Seattle. There will be another conference on the whaling business. We set a quota on how many whales each country can kill or cannot kill. We've made exceptions to this, and one of the largest exceptions are for the Eskimos, because throughout the ages, for their personal consumption, not for commercial purposes, Eskimos have been permitted to, hunt and kill whales for their consumption, for their dietary necessities. But oftentimes, we have used the Eskimos as leverage. And I've been telling the Japanese, this may sound small, but be careful, because Eskimos may be forgotten people to many, but there are many of those who remember Eskimos and support them. It's a two-way street. The Japanese have used the Eskimos as a leverage, and they're playing with fire there. Yes, it's been a major cause of pain for Eskimos because they don't want to be used as bargaining chip. Well, I cite these few examples to demonstrate that the journey ahead of us is not traveled on a smooth, paved highway.